Hi everyone and welcome. This is Cindy Kabika and this is In Search of Normal, and I'm so thrilled that you're all here, all of our Energized Living Today family as well as our In Search of Normal family, and it's just thrilling to have you all here today. You know, it has been a real mix of cosmic energy. It was really interesting last night during the eclipse to go outside, and of course it was rainy here in Middle Tennessee, or I think some parts of the city actually had an opportunity to see it, but where I live, it was rainy and cloudy. So when I walked outside, I couldn't really see it, though I could see a little bit of the moon peeking through some of the clouds out there, but not enough to really get a sense of what was going on. And then I saw it when it turned a little bit red around the edges, but it was very vague. So my husband and I decided to go out for a walk, and we took our cats with us. Our cats like to go for walks around the block, and so we took the kitties for a walk, and I noticed as soon as there was a full, the moon just started settling down or something during the eclipse. I don't know what it was with the energy, but when the full eclipse was there, I felt the stillness come over me and over the atmosphere. Even the cats became very calm, and it has been such a wild energy lately, and it's like the spell was broken or something, and it was really interesting. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I would love to know how you all are doing. How are you feeling now? Has the cosmic atmosphere for you settled down as well? Because I just really felt that, and I felt that sense of calm all day today as well. So I want to hear from everyone. Plus, I just want you to check in and say hi. So if you see right on your screen there, right in front of you, if you'll go ahead and just write the word hi in the chat, we'd love to hear from you. And now, this whole program that we're doing, In Search of Normal, Moving Life from Chaos to Clarity, is all about stepping your life to freeing yourself from emotional distress. And this program today with Diane Light actually is perfect to go along with step 6, which is all about creating sacred space. And sometimes we get really bogged down in the energy of our clutter. And I would love to know how you're feeling around your life, and if you're feeling that clutter. I know that when we feel clutter around here, when there's stuff in a disarray, which happens to be right now because we have a set all set up here in my breakfast room, and we haven't been able to use this room, and there's chairs stacked and stuff like that. So I have to make sure that I keep everything really organized the best that I can. Otherwise, it really pulls my energy down. But if we have things that are in excess, if we have things that are disorganized, then it really pulls from our own energy. And Diane is all about creating space from the heart. She's all about healing from the heart. In fact, she created a program called Healing from the Heart, and she's going to be talking about that today. She is someone that I've actually known online for quite a long time, and she brought Marilyn Harper to us. She's the one that actually got her booked on our show, and she's also a healer herself. And I said, why don't you come on and bless us with your presence? So she's here, and I'm so delighted because she is really all about creating that sacred space within your home. And that doesn't always mean that you have to get rid of stuff, although sometimes it's good to just get out the excess stuff. But you might want to just repurpose it, reorganize it in a way that you create greater flow. So Diane, thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor and a privilege, and I'm so glad that you're back again. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness, this is really great. And it was really beautiful. I did get to see the moon last night.
You did? Oh, lucky you.
I live in Arizona, so we don't have cloud cover very often. It was really awesome. And many times I lived in Washington State for 23 years, so I didn't see a lot of moon eclipses. Every once in a while we were graced with one. But the thing I noticed last night about the eclipse was that when the moon was fully in eclipse, it looked more three-dimensional than it's ever looked before. I mean, it almost looked like a one of those mobiles. You almost could see the string hanging from it. You know, like it was
Oh, really?
it was really bizarre because it started off with the light on the right side, looking at it on the right side, and then it moved to underneath, and then it moved over to the left. But when it was in full eclipse, there was just a little bit of a thin line of light underneath the moon. And it just was three-dimensional. And I was in a park with about 35 other people, and they were drumming. We were drumming. And it was really beautiful.
Oh, how beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, we were going to drum, and we were actually doing a ceremony last night, a smudging ceremony, and that also, you know, clears the negative energy, any dense energy around the home. And my husband, I got him like a bongo drum, and he'll play that while we do the ceremony. But last night we didn't end up doing it. Instead, we took the cats for a walk because we just so appreciated the energy that we were feeling. And so we sat outside. Even when we got back, we sat outside, and our cats were all around us, and it was really, we enjoyed the energy even though we couldn't see the moon. You could still experience that energy. So lucky you that you got to see it.
Well, I was in such a quiet place. I almost stayed in my own yard and away from everybody because we talked about this before. Full moons, eclipses, and new moon times, they're very personal for me. So I find myself a lot at home and maybe even doing ceremony inside, if that makes sense. And so it's just a real personal time for me. But I could really see last night, as I was there with everybody, how the indigenous peoples, when that happened with the moon, the blood moon, which is another name for the eclipse, right?
Right.
When
right.
it happened, how, I got chills, how powerful that was for them. And then to feel the energy and know that the indigenous peoples too they weren't so distracted as we are today. So they were a little more in tune with the energies of the earth and the moon energies. And so anyway, it was really great. I was able to really catapult myself back in time to how they might have felt. It's pretty cool.
I love that. And Ferris, I see some comments popping up too. I would love to go ahead and have you read some of those comments.
All right. We got bunches of them. And, you know, this is so cool. We got people from all around the world tonight. Val said that it was just magnificent for her last night, and it was so great to feel just a few hours of that calmness, because lately life has been bumpy for her. And Kathy just said light and love to the Soul Gang, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful.
Ariane said she spent that time with her daughter, and they experienced bursts of joy and laughter. It was an experience that neither one of them would forget. And Sarah said she just felt kicked by the accumulating energies. And today she's just kind of recovering and being quiet. Dolores said from Ohio said she felt a lot of powerful energy running through her body. Darla said it was awesome seeing the red glow in Minnesota. Sarah just said it was strange and beautiful. Barbara in Canada said it was too cloudy to see. Yeah. The eclipse was lovely in northwest Arkansas, Steph said. Best she's ever seen. And it was just very expansive energy. And Jane said she just felt the stillness and the calm, and Nancy said she'd love to feel the calm. Cynthia said she's still in the flux. Sandy said in southern Maryland it was gorgeous, but today's been crummy. Still a lot of clearing going on, I guess. And Sandy said she didn't see anything in New Jersey. Devonna said cloudy and rain in North Carolina. So she didn't get to see anything. Randy's back. Hi, Randy.
Hi, Randy.
And just a whole bunch of howdies.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, I do understand that emotional spin-off, so to speak, that you can get, don't you, Diane, after all of this cosmic stuff that's been going on. People have been feeling it, even when they don't know what's going on, when they fully don't understand it, people will still say, it's like it's this weird energy. I've been hearing everybody say it, believers and non-believers.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Well, there's such an influx of light, and we've been getting that influx of light for the last couple of years. So it's the light's becoming greater and greater, because as we increase our vibration and increase our awareness and our consciousness, we can handle more light, right? You heard that we never get more than we can handle, right? Well, that's kind of what's happening right now, is that the influx of light, and if you're feeling a little physical, just be gentle with yourself. Like, I want to sleep a lot. And that's when our bodies get shifted and changed. That's when we get rewired. When you put a new software on your computer, you have to shut it down. You have to restart it in order for that software to work. Well, that's what's happening for us. So when we go through these energetic shifts that we've been going through for, I think, for a long time. I don't think it's just been the last couple of years, but it's really been intense the last couple of years. When we go to sleep, that's when we get worked on. That's when things get rewired and rebooted. So I just encourage everybody to please be gentle with yourselves. There's nothing wrong. That's the main thing. There's nothing wrong. There's only things that are right.
I love that, and I just copied that down too. I love that analogy, which is, we're all getting a new surge of this energy, a new light, as you said, and like your computer, you have to shut it down. If you're updating anything, you got to shut it down. You got to reboot. And that makes complete sense. And I've been in a really quiet place today, too. I've been, kind of just keeping to myself, though it was really nice, because as I was sitting out on the porch, and we've got a table on the front porch now that we just got, so I can sit under the awning when it's raining and still be outside. And I was surrounded by 3 of my 4 kitties, and it just felt peaceful, and it felt recharging, like it was recharging my battery. So it was like a reboot for me. And I could tell that if I had left the house and gone out into the world, I would not have been able to really handle it very well. I needed that time alone today. And I'm traveling later this week to San Diego on, when are we going, Ferris? On Thursday. And I'll need that energy by then. I think that I'll be fully rebooted by then, and it's going to feel great. So I'm so thrilled that I had that opportunity today, and I'm so thrilled that all of you had that opportunity as well. Now, Diane, one of the things that you do, that you talk about, is clearing your space, and when you clear space, how it heals and opens up the heart. And when you have a lot of stuff around you, it really keeps you stuck. Your mind just kind of, it's like when you can't start a program on your computer and you get that wheel that's going round and round and round, and some of us feel that way sometimes, but we can't move forward, we can't fully boot up. And I think that's what that excess dense energy from stuff can create within our homes. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. What I have realized is that, people ask me all the time, well, how do we get so much stuff? Why do people collect so much stuff? And really the bottom line is, Cindy, is because they can. If you didn't have space to put things, you wouldn't collect it. So if there's an available space on the wall or available space on the floor, you'll bring it home. So that's part of it. But this is, I think, a really big key right now, is everything that you have, all the things that we have in our house have energy. If you have an old armoire that you bought at an antique store, the armoire, how we used to say, like, boy, if that armoire could talk, I bet it'd have some stories. Well, it has those kind of energies in it. So where the energy that armoire, the person that that owned it before, what happened in that house, I mean, that stays kind of in that particular article. And that's a proven fact. I mean, we know that that's true, that there's energy in things. When somebody gives you something, I was just telling Ferris before we went on the air about a little giveaway that I had, and I asked people to bring something that meant a lot to them, so that they weren't bringing junk. You know, bring something that really means a lot to you, but it's time to let go of. And then we did that party where you pick a present, and then you open it up, and then somebody can steal it from you, right? And then if they do, then you get. Well, my daughter picked the present, and it was a $4,500 engagement ring. Now, who gives a $4,500 engagement ring away, right?
Right.
But it had the energy of a relationship that she didn't need to be looking at or have in her house or in her possession anymore. So I think that's really, really important, is that to know about the energy that things have. But let's take it another step further. The things that we have in our house define who we are. That might not be really who we are, but in our society, our things define who we are. So when you have things in your house defining you a certain way, but you're trying to move to a different way of being, that's how it holds you back. Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes so much sense to me. Absolutely. Now, I want to talk for a moment, Diane, about, because you're such a multifaceted, multi-talented woman, and you're all about creating healing environments. And I want to let everyone know, because I don't know how much of that they got the other day, so I want for you to just take a moment and tell everyone how you came upon these discoveries, what moved you in the direction of creating this space.
Well, I think that I've always been a person that's created space. I think that's just partly who I am. I've been told I'm a world builder, and that makes a lot of sense if you're a person who creates space. Yes. So we didn't know what that meant until just recently. And how I got to where I'm at now is I used to have a stained glass studio. And I was a counselor, and then I had a stained glass studio. And then I was told in meditation to close the studio. I was going into the healing arts. And I go into the healing arts, and I used color therapy, which works at a cellular level. And, you know, I'd watch how people would start to change. But then I'd meet other people who really wanted to change. They wanted to do something different in their life, or they wanted to be a different way, or they wanted to drop this or drop that. And somehow or another, I started to see that they were holding on the inside, emotionally attached to these people, places, and things. And so started working with that. Now, this is a dichotomy, because I've always been told that, I've always believed that there's nothing on the outside that doesn't first start on the inside. So you can't change the outside expecting to change the inside, right? You've been told that too?
Right, right. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So, but then when you look at handwriting analysis, you can take somebody that does handwriting analysis, and they can show you how just a simple thing, just finish your loops. And if you finish your loops, it changes things, and it really works. It really happens. So there are things on the outside that you can change. Now, and how many times have you kind of been kind of like a little blah, kind of flatlined? So you go get your hair done, or you go get a pedicure, you know, or if you're a guy, you shave. You know, you do something so when you look in the mirror, you see something different. It starts to change what's happening on the inside. Well, that's kind of what this whole clearing your stuff is about, is what I'm starting to see as you're clearing your stuff is about. So it was about probably 5 or 6 years ago that I started to see and started working with people and going into their homes and just looking at their stuff. I mean, they have little pathways they have to walk through. And it's like they're so bogged down with stuff that if an opportunity came up for them to leave and go somewhere else, they wouldn't be able to do it because they had too much stuff. And they don't even know how to, they're so overwhelmed by it that they don't even know what to do to get rid of it. They don't even know what to do. What's the first thing? It's amazing. It's just really overwhelming to people. So that's kind of how it all got started.
Well, I love that, and I so get that because I even feel that way in this big old house, and now everybody's moved out, and I'm here alone a lot. Well, Ferris is here a lot, and my granddaughter kind of flits in and out now, but you know, I've got this big house where mostly I'm going to be, especially in the daytime, I'm by myself, especially when my husband is traveling. So what am I going to do? Me and with this big a house, and I'm thinking I really want to downsize, and I'm thinking where's all the stuff going to go?
Right.
So some of it we don't want to get rid of, and some of it we would love to see gone, though my husband has a really hard time parting with things.
Oh, maybe I need to have a conference with him.
Do what?
Maybe I need to have a conference with your husband.
Maybe you do. He does. He has a really hard time letting go of things. And I have a little easier time, but still, especially if there's sentimental value. And if someone is sentimental about something that they have, but it's like all of these drawings, these kindergarten drawings from Sarah and Chase when they were little. But it takes up 2 boxes in our house. And is it necessary to hold on to that stuff? What can we do?
Right. What can you do? Give it to Sarah and Chase.
Yes.
They're drawing, right?
This is they're growing. Well, Chase is 15, so he can't take it with him right now. But
not just yet. But yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I carried around boxes, bins for 2 of my daughters, thinking, you know, they're like little drawings, their favorite little clothes, some little keepsakes from their grandparents, books, their favorite books, and all this stuff. I carried this. I mean, I moved it around with me, moved it, and finally, this last move, I said, I'm done. You know, you're married, you know, and you've got a house, so you need to take it. I went through all the pictures, and I sat there, and if it was a picture of Yokoya, it went in this box. If it was a picture of Chelsea, it went in this box. If it was 2 of them together, I'd split it up. And I kept a few. I have a little tiny box of pictures now. Because I know if I need pictures, where to go to get them. But they're their pictures. And they're pictures of their dad and I. I don't need that energy anymore. I have it here, right? I don't need it in pictures in a box in the closet. So I gave it to them. They can do what they need to do with it. But the truth is that almost everything I saved for them, they didn't want it. They didn't care.
They'll care a little later on in life, and what I did, especially with Sarah's bigger projects, because she's always been a 3-dimensional artist, and we've got statues. We've got Wooden Sarah is one of the projects, and we kept it for a long time. And then I just took a picture of it. And all of these things that I wanted to keep the memories of, or she might want the memories of, I just took pictures of it. Some of the things I just scanned into the computer, and now they're all digital. And she's got a copy. I've got a copy for a backup. And now I can get rid of the box. Well, I haven't done everything. I've still got those 2 boxes I have to go through. But that's what I did, is I just made them digital. That way she has the memory. She doesn't have the actual thing that she created, but she does have a visual representation of that, so she can remember what it was that she experienced in, you know, kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, whatever the grade was from.
And when you say that they will want that later, it's like that's because that's how you are, Cindy, but that doesn't mean that that's how they are. So, you know, we have to be really careful not to put our own stuff on our kids. You know, my kids just aren't sentimental. My daughter's husband's more sentimental than she is, but she's just not really that sentimental. And these dresses were so cute for my granddaughters, and she's like, Mom, those are old. It's like, yeah, you wore them, and so I want new things for my, you know. So everybody's different, but I thought that they would want them, and I don't think she'll miss them later. I really don't. But it just...
When I said later, I meant way later, like in their 80s. like
See,
in their 70s, 80s, and that's when I see people where those things become more meaningful when they're really a lot older. And oh my gosh, this was kindergarten. Can you believe that? I made that. You know, that's what I'm seeing. And I guess I recognize that, Diane, because my dad is in, you know, he had a stroke and he's in a home, and there's all these elderly folks there, and I hear them oogling over things like that when their family members bring them. So that's why I said that later on. And I don't mean, you know, when they're 20, 30, 40, they're in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and they're being brought these things that are meaningful.
Yeah.
And they think it's interesting to see. But again, I don't want to hold on to it for that many years. But if she wants it, I got a digital version.
That's right. We had a friend, we had a frame shop for a while, and what she did was she started a whole business for herself because she went up into the attic and she found eyeglasses, wiring from her great-grandmother, and photographs and maps and all kinds of stuff, and she started overlaying it, and we made these shadow boxes for her, and she did these beautiful pieces of everything that you're talking about, you know, that could just be handed down in the family. It was all nice in a shadow box. And I thought that was
love that.
a great idea. You know, that's kind of the repurposing, isn't it?
Right.
Instead of, because what good is having all those memories if they're in a box? I think that's where I really ask the questions for people. If it's in a box or it's in a storage unit that you're paying on, I just did a talk last week, and I got an email from the woman, and she said, you know, I want to thank you because I've been paying $32 a month for a small storage unit, and I haven't seen what's in there for 2 years. I haven't even opened it.
Wow.
And I was trying to think what's in there, and I could think of maybe 1 or 2 things. And it really started to make me think, what am I doing? Why am I spending $32 a month? For what's in, I don't even know what's in there. So it really started to help her started to look at things differently.
So what are some other ways that we can create expansive energy, more space, even if we have things that we don't want to get rid of? There's one thing that you shared the other day about the purse that I think is priceless, and I would love for you to share that with everyone.
Well, I was helping this woman in her closet, and we got up on the very top shelf on a ladder, I did, and got into the back of the closet and found this beautiful leather bag that was her grandmother's, and it was hand-tooled and painted. You know, it was a hippie bag from the 70s. She didn't have the fringe on it, and but it had the big and a really big wide strap, and she said, you know, I know that people are starting to wear these again, but I just can't really get rid of it. It was my grandmother's, and I don't really have very much of my grandmother's, and I'd really like to keep it. And I said, well, but if your grandmother obviously loved this bag, she bought it. So how are you honoring her by keeping it in the closet on the top shelf? You're not willing to wear it, right? And you don't want to sell it or give it away, so why don't you repurpose it? So what we did is we hung it by her desk, and that's where she puts her mail. So when she goes and gets her mail now, she opens the purse up and she puts it in the purse, and then she knows when she gets ready to pay her bills, or that's not all of her mail, but her bills, she goes in there and gets her bills out of this really great purse, and it's not so painful maybe because it's in this great memory of her grandmother, and pays her bills. So we repurposed it. She gets to see it every day. She gets to think of her grandmother every day.
See, I love that. That is so beautiful. What other ways? What other things can they do?
I was just reading over here in the comments, and somebody wrote, how can we create space in our heart and soul? And that's a whole other subject. It's a great question, and it's a whole other subject, and I'd really like to talk about that. Is that okay?
That's perfectly fine with me.
Because you know, we've moved as a collective consciousness. We've moved from a very dense, fear-based consciousness into a much higher vibration of love. And so, oh, it's just so cute. So that's how we create that space in our hearts and our soul, is by moving out of fear. So fear-based comes in a lot of things. You know, you can be afraid of a cat, you can be afraid of a spider. I saw a snake today. I wasn't afraid of it. I was actually looking for it again because I wanted to see it. It's like an orange, but it was so fast I didn't, really get to see it. So we can be afraid of those things. That's a cautious, different kind of fear. The fears I'm talking about, and that ties into what I do, is the fear of never being able to have it again. If I get rid of this, I'll never find it again. If I get rid of this blouse, I'll never have another one. If I get rid of this couch, I really love it, I'll never be able to get rid of it, so I'll hold on to that couch, even though it's fallen apart. I like the color, whatever. So it's about, when you create that heart space and that soul space, creating space in your heart and soul is coming from love. It's coming from a place of knowing that there's plenty, and that we're living in the present moment. We're not living in the future anymore. We're not living in the past. We're really being asked to live in the present moment. And so what doesn't serve you in the present moment has no place here. If it's a fear, if it's clothes, if it's food, it doesn't matter what it is. If it doesn't serve you, it just doesn't have a place here. So that's how we create space in our hearts. Love.
Oh, I so agree with that. And, making room, when you get rid of the excess stuff, then you create this beautiful space for tiny little things to become extraordinary. And it just opens you wide up, like these guys over here. He's tapping me because he wants to be acknowledged, by the way. This is Nickel back here, for those of you who haven't met Nickel. I think most of you have, because he's my energy kitty. And he's always drawn to the energy, so he'll come in here after we start and make himself known. So here he is. But, the animals, I decorate with cats. The animals, for me, having, these 4 kitties opens my heart tremendously. And the little beings, even the wild animals all around me, do so much for me in opening my heart, more than any physical item that I have in my house. And so that's, nature is very important to me. I'm a very grounded person. I want my feet in the dirt. I want to be able to work in my garden. I want to see all the little critters running around and just being in nature.
Right. Right. That's right. Yeah, I decorate with crystal. I have a lot of crystals around. Hey, Donna asks, what exactly do you mean if it doesn't serve you? And that's another really great, there's some great questions. I love this.
Oh, good, good.
Stay here all night. What I mean by doesn't serve you means that if you're not using it, if it's not serving you by its purpose, then, if you have 15 bundt pans, unless you have a bundt pan business that you make bundt pans and sell them, you really don't need 15 bundt pans. So therefore, that's not serving you. It's taking up space. If you have things that your mother left you, or your Aunt Hilda left you, or your sister passed, or your sister moved out of town and left you with a bunch of stuff, if it's not something that brings you joy when you look at it, there's things that have purpose, and there's things, everything has a purpose, but there's things that we use that actually are utilitarian, and then there's also things that are our art, right, that are artistic. Mm-hmm. But if you look at that and it doesn't bring you joy, it's not serving you. That's what I mean by that.
Beautifully said. And that reminds me of my mother, who had all of these cheese fondues. I can't even remember if it was 5 or 7, or there was a bunch of cheese fondues. How many of them do you need? But she would go garage selling, and she hoarded stuff. And when she passed, it was up to us kids to get rid of all this stuff, and we found it so emotionally draining for us because it was Mom's. It was something that she obviously saw, appreciated, and bought. And it was really hard on us. So another thing, you know, in keeping your heart open and thinking about the things that serve you and don't serve you, let them go before, you know, before your family has to do it for you. And that's something that, you know, my mom could have easily done, but she had, you know, broken down stuff, all the dishes. You know, she was one woman living by herself, and she probably had 4 sets of dishes, complete, you know, 16 sets, 16 plate sets. And I'm thinking, why all the dishes? Or napkins, and, you know, the cloth napkins and tablecloths, that kind of stuff. There, it was just packed. And I didn't understand the purpose.
Because she could. Because she could. Because she had a place to put them. You know, and you know that. Look at the assumption that you made that because they were your moms, they must have meant something to her. You know, she you know, look. You said, why does she have 5 or 6 cheese fondues? It's like, well, there's a lot of different kinds of cheese. You know, you can't put all those kinds of cheese in the same fondue. You have to have a fondue for each. So maybe she was gonna have a fondue. Right. Right.
Well, if she entertained that much, I would.
But that's not you.
Yeah.
Right. That's not you. And I think it's really interesting because I've gotten into that with people where I went to a garage sale when I first moved to Arizona. I didn't have anything because I had gotten rid of everything. I'd been told to get rid of everything, and I didn't understand that. But to sell it, give it away, you know, and I owned a gallery, so I kept some art. But other than that, I didn't really keep a lot. I knew I could always get clothes. I knew that clothes were abundant no matter where you went, and I didn't know where I was going, so I didn't know if I was going to need warm weather clothes or cool weather clothes. I just didn't know. So, but I went to a garage sale and I bought a brand new juicer. It never out of the box. And I said to the man, "Oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "You know, my daughters would come and pick up my wife and take her to sales, and not garage sales, but to sales. And they would go to these sales, and they would talk her into buying, Mom, you should get this juicer because it would be healthy for you." So she would get it, bring it home, put it in the cupboard, and never even open it again. Mm. That's how it happens, you know? So he was laughing. He says, "You wouldn't believe all the stuff that I had," because I didn't even know what that was. And I said, "It's a juicer." He didn't even know. So.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us are, you know, we do that same kind of thing. And like you said, is it meaningful? And that's the most beautiful question to ask. Because I know that my mom was not, it was meaningful when she got it, is what I said. And she, you know, I don't think it was really that meaningful once she got it home. It was the experience of buying it that she was looking for. And then what I found out is that she would buy all this stuff and then have her own garage sale. Even if she sold it for much less than what she bought it for, then she'd have stuff for her garage sale.
Shopping therapy, that's important.
Is it?
Yeah, I have a daughter. She knows what she does. She does shopping therapy, but she just takes it all back. She goes out and she buys all this stuff, and then she takes it home and she looks at it, and then she goes and takes it all back.
That's funny.
It's really funny. It's like, I didn't teach her that. That's her own thing. But yeah, that's shopping therapy. She doesn't need any of it. It's just, that's her therapy.
Yeah,
so
it just feels good to have it at least for a minute.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy she doesn't keep it. So that's great.
Well, another thing that I want to talk about is, and one of the things that you talk about quite a bit, is the third dimensionary energy, which, you know, this is the third dimension. All of the things that are around us is that third dimension energy. And then there's the fifth dimension. Can you talk to us about that and how your work take someone from being three-dimensional into the fifth dimension?
Sure. The third dimension is basically that consciousness of fear. So there's a lot of fears in that third dimension. So there's not enough. It's a more poverty consciousness. And the fifth dimension, which is our universe moved into in 2012, so now that frequency and that vibration has been in that fifth. But physically and emotionally, we're still a lot into the third, or we have been. And so what I've noticed and what I'm seeing is that people who have this higher consciousness, which I'm going to say every person that's on this call is understanding what I'm talking about or has heard something about this. And when you have 1 foot in the third and 1 foot in the fifth, what I've found is it creates a discombobulation. It creates a lot of confusion in the mind. So it's difficult to think clearly and to get focused. When people that I meet in my healing practice that I see that are pretty physically ill, they have a lot of illness, their consciousness is really more geared towards the third. It's like they're stuck in the third. So we were told when this all was going to happen that even with people, if your vibration isn't on the same level, people will start to fall away because you're going to change your vibration and they're not changing theirs, or they change theirs and you're not changing yours. And there's not a mix. I mean, it's like this, right? We're not thinking. So I see that that's what's happening. Our bodies physically cannot hold a third dimensional vibration in a fifth dimensional world, and we are in a fifth dimensional world. So being fully in that fifth dimensional world is really letting go of our fears, letting go of the thoughts that we're not cared for, that we're not taken care of. You know, all these things that come up, which is why people hold on to things, why they hold on to relationships that are unhealthy for them, why they hold on. So it's not just physical things in your home. It's thoughts and people and it's places. I just helped a girlfriend of mine who's in Boston right now. She's been up there for 3 months, unloading and getting rid of everything in a house from 55 years these people live there.
Whoa.
5 years in the same house. You know, we talk about getting into the rhythm of the earth, right? And people think that means giving up our technology. That is not what that means. It's not about giving up technology. It's about understanding the rhythms. And as peoples, when we came here, we were nomads. We moved. We had to move with the food. We had to move with the weather. We had to pack up everything and take it with us. We didn't build brick houses or wood houses and live in them and fill them up with stuff. So we've kind of gotten out of that rhythm. And I think that we're coming back to a time where there's going to be more movement. So she was saying to me, I so understand her father-in-law passed, and that's why she's there, and her mother-in-law lives with her in Arizona here. She said, I so understand why 10 years ago when we wanted them to move to Arizona that they couldn't. And the reason they couldn't is because they didn't know what to do with all their stuff. They didn't know how they would go through it. They didn't know how they were going to get rid of it. They couldn't move it all. And it's like you can just see how stuck they were. And it was really sad. I mean, it's just kind of sad. They could have come down here and been with their families, but they couldn't. They couldn't do it. It's like they had this ball and chain around their legs, holding them in Boston. So,
you know, Randy just wrote in and he says, I have so much stuff. And I think that we can all say that. And let me see, what are some of the other comments? And Ferris, I don't know what the upper and lower one is. Why don't you go ahead and come on and just read some of these to us as you've been going through them.
Well, we got a really good question here from Nancy. Actually, it was more of a comment, but for me it's a question. She has a sister-in-law who was sexually abused. And she's pretty much OCD, so there is no clutter in her house at all. But is that necessarily healthy?
That's a good question.
It's a good question. It is really a good question, and I don't know that there's an easy answer for that, because I don't believe, the Japanese way is complete sparsity. Like, they live like monks. If you look at there's nothing on their walls. It's all clean. They have a mat. They have maybe a lotus and an altar, and that's all they have in a room. So I don't live like that.
But for them, it's not. But for them, it's not a compulsion.
Right.
It's
well,
just
that's
cultural.
right. That's right. So OCD is kind of like, I don't work with hoarders either. OCD, I've got a little bit of an OCD cleaning thing, but those are other issues that are way deeper than what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Because I don't know that, I can't say that unless I talk to her. I don't know, because the thing is that if that works for her, how she lives and the sparsity that she lives, if that works for her, then it works for her. It might not work for me, and it might not work for you, Cindy, or it might not work for you, Ferris. But if it works for her, then I love the name of the show, Finding Normal, because I don't even know what that is. I don't know what normal is.
Well, normal, for those of you, I think, of course, the people that are journeying with us know, but normal means usual, common, typical, and routine. So if the chaos is usual, or organization, OCD is routine, then that's your normal. So it's whatever you have that repeats itself day after day, that's your normal. And for those people who are really bogged down and they don't like that definition, chaos, oh, my normal is chaos, then you can go to the next step or the next definition, which is freeing yourself from emotional distress. And that's why this step is so important, because freeing yourself from things that make you feel trapped, that's creating that dense energy, those are the things that we need to release, which will also help us release the emotional distress.
That's right.
So normal doesn't mean ordinary. And people confuse normal with the word ordinary, and that's not what it is. In fact, here's what I found, Diane. In order to truly find, to be free from emotional distress, we have to find our normal, the normal that works for us. And when we find that normal, we become extraordinary, because it frees us. And that's that creating space that you were talking about just a moment ago.
So that's how I was answering to her, in that if a woman who has some past, right, that some healing, some wounds there, and that has created a way for her to cope, or for her normal, is that sparsity. If it works for her, then I can't say whether that's healthy or unhealthy for her. If it works for her, it's healthy for her.
Right.
Okay.
Or normal.
All right, now I've got another question. Excuse me, and this one's personal.
Uh-oh.
I fall in love with old stuff. Whether it's my old stuff or someone else's old stuff. I have my father's vise from his workshop. That vise is close to 100 years old. When I look at that vise, I see stories. And when I look at anything old, I see the stories that go with those things. Which is why I wound up with so much old stuff. And I'm not talking about my old socks either.
So what's
for your old self?
Even though the old socks have some good stories.
So what's the question?
How do I let go of those stories?
Well,
I don't want to let them go.
It doesn't sound like you want to.
No, I don't.
Okay. when you look at that vice, because it was your dad's,
Yeah.
it brings you joy,
Yeah.
right? So it serves you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus,
So,
it's useful.
and it's useful. Exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a
And
vice.
it's useful too. So you know,
Well, I haven't used it in
he
what, 10
still
years?
uses it.
No,
Not in 10
missed
years.
you missed the whole thing. Everybody needs a vice, Ferris. Everybody. You're not gonna say you have a
Is that a
vice.
pun?
Yeah, it's a pun.
I love that.
You know, life's
You haven't used it in 10 years, Ferris?
No.
Oh,
haven't-
okay.
well, he's been too busy doing this kind of thing. You don't need a vice.
Yeah.
I guess that's true. At the old studio, we
There've
used it.
been a few times that I've wanted to put the computer in a vice,
I'm sure.
but I've restrained myself. That's a pun.
So here's something I would like to share with you, Ferris. This
Okay.
told me, I did a mentorship with a woman who channeled Mother Mary, Divine Mother Energy. And one of the things she told us was about stuff was that when people hold on to things because of the memories of them, the memories stay in the thing. But when they let the thing go, the memory is absorbed and enmeshed in their heart.
Whoa.
So it becomes a part of them. So do you want your memories out there, or would you like to have them in here?
Cool.
Mm.
Now, the vice, you might always keep the vice. I truly believe that everybody has to have at least one vice.
I have a few vices. Different kind.
Y'all, she didn't pay me to set her up for that.
Well, I love what it keeps moving on me. Okay, it was I just lost it. It was Kelly says, different world, different souls coming in. They are not nearly as attached to the past as we have been and previous generations. And Sandy says, spot on, Kelly. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah,
You know,
so
we come in and yeah, this is great. Good conversation.
that's because that goes into the category, how did we get here, right? So we got here because, first of all, the people listening either have grandparents or parents that grew up in the Depression, where they didn't have anything. So it was that consciousness of lack. So my parents, I think, were kind of young in the Depression, but they definitely grew up during the Depression, and it was my grandparents that grew up in the Depression. So my parents grew up with that wanting to hold on to everything, hold on to that, because you might never get it again, you know? If there could be another Depression and then you wouldn't have it. Well, anytime you hold on to something so tight, you stop the flow. If you don't believe, hold your finger as tight as you possibly can, and eventually it will get purple because it will stop the flow of the blood. It's stopping the flow. So first of all, we had the Depression, and then we became I'm just talking about America now. We became a capitalist, and I know there's other countries in the same situation, but right now, talking about the United States, we became a capitalist country. And so consumerism was like, I mean, I saw a whole thing on consumerism that blew my mind that was going around for a while about buy, 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 buy. And do you remember, I had a card once that said, the person who has the most when they die wins?
Yeah.
There was actually greeting cards like that.
Oh.
And so that's the energy that we grew up with. That's the energy that was put out there for us, right? And then I can't speak for anybody else. I can only speak for myself and the people that I've been around. You know, my parents wanted to make sure I had as much stuff as I possibly could have because they didn't have any, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to do that with my kids. I pulled it back in, and I wanted them to have some value, because I knew if they said, "Oh, I want a bike," and they got the bike, that they didn't even have to work for it, and spending some time wanting it was working for it. Does that make any sense?
Right.
So I wanted them to have some value on the things that they did have, because I see people today who I can tell those people that were just given everything. They don't have any value. They have no value for the things that they do have, and they have no value for other people's things either. So we have this consumerism. So now we've got the depression. Now we've got consumerism coming in, and so then we have this greed that pops up that says, if I hold on to something long enough, it's going to be worth a lot of money someday.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you, that might be true. But if you're holding on to stuff that you think is going to be worth something someday, wait till you are getting Social Security, or that you have a nice income so that you can sit on your computer for 8 to 10 hours a day looking for that one person that's going to pay you what you think that thing is worth. Because that whole idea of, the antique trunk show and all that stuff, they can tell you how much that stuff's worth, but you still have to find somebody that's willing to pay for it. That's not so easy.
You're so right. And I have boxes of Kennedy. I've got the half dollars and I've got silver dollars, and that my aunt, when she passed, she gave them to me. My other aunt gave them to me because she didn't want that. She didn't want all that, the energy of having to carry that stuff around, so she gave it to me. And because it was my aunt's, I've been holding on to it, and everybody keeps saying it's worth some money. Well, they're worth at least $1. Some of them, the 50-cent pieces are at least worth 50 cents. But I don't know how much they're even, what the value would be today.
So, when you look at something like that, right, so you've got that, but you have a house. So that stuff can sit in a drawer, and it's not a big deal, right? But if you needed to leave and you needed to move, that's not the only thing you're carrying. That's not the only thing you have, Cindy. You have other things too, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, when can we take that and really bring joy, all right? So your aunts collected those things, and they put energy. They loved collecting them, whether they were collecting them for money or whether they were collecting them just to collect them. They loved collecting coins. They loved having them and looking at their coin collection. But that's not you, because you don't get that out and look at it all the time. You're not. Are you still collecting coins and putting with it? No. Nope. It's just there. So you have some options here, right? You can go take that coin collection right now while there's still some value to our dollars, and you can cash that in. That's a whole other subject, isn't it? We can cash that in, right? And take that money and put it in a CD or buy gold with it for your granddaughter. Or, repurpose it, or take your granddaughter on a trip that she's always wanted to go on. Take the money and have an experience. Let's have experiences instead of having stuff.
I love that. And that's what my husband and I actually decided to do for Christmas this year. It's so funny that you brought that up, Diane, because we said, no more stuff, let's just have experiences. So for Christmas, we're going to, I think it's going to be Ireland. I think we're going to Ireland. They've got a half marathon there, and that's next August. And I said, for Christmas or anniversary, let's just do something like that. We're going to do marathons and half marathons because we love doing that. So we might as well just turn it into a gift that we can give each other and have this beautiful experience together. Because, the race is just an excuse to go.
There you go. That's it, right?
Yeah.
I just read something, and it said, I think it said something like, isn't it time that life lives you?
And I like that.
Instead of you living life, let life live you. And I thought that's really I like that. And there was another one that I saw not too long ago that I've adopted, and that is, pour yourself into life.
Yeah, I love that.
I mean, it all comes down to about this soul of who I really am, because we collect things. I have a really dear friend, and she started dating this man, and she said to me, she said, I don't know. It's really weird because he took his kids over to his ex-girlfriend's house when he was dating her, and she's this artsy, craftsy person and stuff, and there's all this stuff around, and they could tell who she was. But if they came to my house, they wouldn't be able to tell who I was. So what do you mean? I didn't understand what she meant. She goes, well, I don't have all that. I said, because that's not who you are. Who you are is this spacious, expansive woman that loves beautiful things and has this beautiful space to bring people into her heart and bring people into her home. You have room for people in your heart, so you have room for people in your home. So we define ourselves by what we have. We really do.
Mm-hmm.
I have a great story about that. So I don't know how much time we have, but I have a great story.
Why don't we go ahead and share that? I would love to.
This is a woman who traveled all over the world. She was a channel. And I've asked her, she's on the other side now, and I asked her if I could share her story. And she wanted me to share her story because it's such a powerful story. This woman had been given things and had collected things her whole life. And then she retired here in Arizona, and she got into a little 2-bedroom condo-y kind of type of thing. And she loved to do beadwork, and she loved to do crafts, and she loved to do this and loved to do that. But eventually, she kind of stopped doing all those things. Her eyesight started to go, so she didn't bead as much, but the beads sat there, and the crystals sat there, and the other art supplies sat there, and she started to get sick. And I went to go visit her when I first moved here because I went to go talk to her crystals. And it was like there was so much stuff in her house. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe in her house. And she ended up with, I think, asthma or lung cancer, or, she ended up with some kind of lung stuff. She had to have oxygen. And when she went on the oxygen and started the lung stuff, I thought, oh my goodness, her stuff is suffocating her. And I said to her one day, we were talking about doing the color therapy, and I said to her something about, you should come and stay on my biomat. I have a biomat that's far infrared heat, right? She goes, oh, I have one of those. You do? Well, let's get you on it. Where is it? I'll put it out for you. Oh, it's out. It's on the massage table in the spare bedroom. I said, well, I'll come over and help you get on it and get off of it. She couldn't do it because she couldn't get to it.
Oh.
So literally her things killed her. Her things literally suffocated her. Mm-hmm. And then it took 4 friends weeks to go in and clean out her house, which is what we've already talked about, leaving a mess for somebody else to clean up.
Right.
And how loving is that? How wonderful and loving. People just really don't have time anymore to leave their jobs and their families and come clean up. So it was a burden. It was a burden to our friends to have to go in, and they love her, so they would never say it was a burden, but it was a burden. They had to leave what they did, whether they worked or were taking care of their husband or taking care of their wife, and go take care of her stuff. So I just thought that was pretty amazing. She had beautiful things, but nobody ever came to her house. Nobody ever got to use them. I think that's the sadness that I see, is that I go into people's homes and they have really beautiful things, but they're in a closet. They're not using that. So why don't you give it to somebody that can use it? Mm-hmm. So many people in need out there. There's shelters. These women need clothes. They need blankets. They need pillows. You can always do those little... anytime people travel, they pick up all those little amenities that are in the bathrooms.
Right.
I pick them up and put them in a bag and take them down to the shelters, to the homeless, because they can't do big bottles like that. They like the little bottles of things. So, yeah.
I think that's beautiful. I love to do that too. When I'm staying somewhere, I'll collect them and deliver them. And I give a lot to the women's. It's called Hope. It's a battered women's shelter, and for women that are starting all over again. So my dad was, when Mom passed, he was just, bring a big garbage truck and just throw everything in there, one of those garbage bins, and just toss everything in there. And I'm like, no, Dad, there's somebody out there that needs those things. So like you said, Diane, I think that it's really important to repurpose those things, send them out into the world where they will be used by people that really need them, because many people, many people are in great need. And so that's what I like to do as I'm clearing house, so to speak.
Right.
Downsizing stuff, because I do want to move into a smaller house. So we've already started the process of purging things.
Good for you. That's excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, there's
I don't want to leave it for someone else.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that downsizing. There's a freedom. Two kids and a couple of businesses. I had a stained glass business, so I carried $40,000 worth of glass sheets around for years, and it was a lot of work to move. A lot of work to move. And when I got rid of everything, there's a freedom, and sometimes I've been in this house now for it'll be 3 years in April, and I look around sometimes and I wonder, where did all this stuff come from? And I don't really have a lot of stuff, but I think, where did all this stuff come from? So I'm getting ready to purge. I'm just getting ready to, get rid of it. Yeah. But I don't have the emotional attachment. That's the thing. I really don't have emotional attachment to the things that showed up this time. Like I have candle holders and this and that, and my crystals I work with, but other than that, I just don't have a lot of emotional attachment to things. So I could probably just walk out the door and not look back.
Well, I have my oracle cards that I do readings with, and I also have my crystals, and those are things that I would pack and take with me. I think the things that mean the most, my cats, my crystals, my cards, the 3 C's.
Sarah has a question. Let me see what she says. My mom left all this stuff from my grandparents to declutter. I'm halfway there, but it isn't easy emotionally. Lots of memories. Yeah. I'm not sure what the question is, Sarah, but this happens a lot, and it has a lot to do with guilt, because you don't want to get rid of those things because they belong to your mom, and then the grandparents. There's a lot of guilt, but you have to remember that was things that made them happy, right? It's the stuff that made living on this planet plausible to them and happy to them, and it served them in the time, but they're not here anymore. So now it's time to send it on. If it's not serving you, if it doesn't bring you happiness, then it's time to send it on to somebody else that it will serve. Like Ferris probably would want it because it's old.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe you could get Ferris's address and just send it on over there to
He doesn't need any more stuff. He doesn't need any more stuff. Oh, funny. Well, Diane, this is the type of work that you do, and I know that everyone out there is curious about your work and how they could possibly work with you on clearing some of these things and repurposing some of these things. So you actually, but per our request, you put together a private reading, and would you tell everyone what that is and how it works?
Well, I put together a few rules, is what I put together. So if everybody will grab a pencil and paper, here's a few rules that of things that you can go by when you're looking at something. Okay, and this will just get you started, and maybe to help you a lot. I hope it does. I think it would be really great. So these are kind of my rules of letting go. If it's clothes, I look at it, and if I haven't worn the clothes for 3 seasons, I let it go. If it's 3 sizes smaller, then I give them away. I let them go. Yeah, I went through that whole thing of hanging on to them because I knew I was going to get back in them. By the time you get into them, you don't wear them anymore.
Right.
So it really, you know, okay, that's clothes. Household, when you look at something in your household, like whether it's a decoration or it's in your kitchen, right? You want to look at, does it fit with your personality or your lifestyle? So, for instance, I've been a vegetarian for 24 years. Now, I would say that I'd have a little bit of a problem if I was still carrying a George Foreman grill around with me.
Yeah.
So you understand a little bit? Okay. Does it fit with my personality or my lifestyle? So, you know, I don't know if I want to get into that. I might not have like religious icons around if that's not my belief system, you know, even if it was my mother's, because that doesn't fit with who I am. And then I look at, with the household, treasures that can be repurposed, right? So I just did this thing. This woman had this garden art, and it was these 3 little kids, and it's a big piece. It's really big, and it's these 3 little kids, and they're sitting there looking at a book, and it fell over, so the whole head of the one kid is all busted out. It's gone. And so I kept telling people at this garage sale, look, these kids were reading this book, and she couldn't handle it. It blew her mind. And nobody wanted to take it. But I told my friend, I bet if we would have planted something in that head where the foliage would come over like hair on her face, we would have sold it in 5 minutes. Right? So we would have repurposed, it would have become a really cool planter instead of a broken statue. So that's repurposing.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
It's broken just because it's broken doesn't mean that you have to throw it away. Sometimes, like, there's a woman here that takes plates and cups and stuff and glues them together and makes yard art out of them and stuff. I mean, people are really clever, very clever with things. So there's always a way to repurpose things. So things that are broken. This is a really big one for all of us, okay? Give it to somebody who can fix it. Because that whole thing of, I'm going to get around to fixing it someday, it's if you don't fix it, if it breaks and you don't fix it, then give it to somebody that can, or recycle it or throw it away, period. And unfortunately, we live in a world of waste. You know, it makes me sick how much we waste here. I remember the first time I had a phone. I bought a phone, and 6 months later it didn't work, and I called the company and I said, you know, my phone's not working anymore, and I want to know, where can I send it to have it repaired? And he laughed at me. This was about 20 years ago. He laughed at me. And I said, why are you laughing? He said, honey, go buy another phone. It will cost you more to have it fixed than you can buy one. And I've heard that with printers. I've heard it, you know, and it's like it's got to go in the landfill. It has to go in my mother's body. There's something wrong with that. So I try to find other ways to use things as much as possible. But I'd rather see you throw it away, get rid of it, than hang on to it, because what is that really saying about you, that you hang on to broken things? You know, like, I live in metaphors. So if things are broken, you know, why would I want broken energy around me?
And
you know?
and it's not. I look at it a little differently than that, because I enjoy fixing things. I enjoy repurposing things and looking at something that's broken and saying, you know what I can do out of that. In fact, I have all these running shirts that are some races that we go to. They're men's shirts that they give us, and I don't like a man's shirt. And so I've been looking up ways to actually make it into a woman's shirt, something that's fun to be able to run in. So I enjoy doing little crafty things like that, and it kind of frees my mind from the heavy you know, I'm always into a lot of heavy thinking and stuff like that, so it's a way to free my mind. So for me, the broken stuff is something I enjoy going back and fixing. However, and from a friend of mine, Nancy, who posted the other day, she said she had this beautiful Halloween display with all these pumpkins that were beautifully carved and decorated, and she said, this is what I plan to do. And then the next picture was one pumpkin uncarved on the stoop, and she said, and this is what I actually do. So there's a realistic part that I have to look at, because I know I love to do those things if I had the time. And right now, I don't have the time. There are things that are more important for me, and that's where the emotional part of it where I have to let go. Right. Say, you know, now is not the time. There'll be more broken things, and when I'm older and retired, I can fix them. I don't have to hold on to these things.
That's right. I don't want anybody on the call to think that I got this down. That's not what this is about. You know, it's like I work with people and I can see things, but I'm just like you guys. I have a quilt that I started to make when I was pregnant with my daughter. She just turned 34. It's still not finished. So then I thought, well, I'll make it for my granddaughter. Well, I have one that's 7 and one that's 2. And it still isn't finished. I don't have time for that. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, someday maybe I won't be able to walk. And then I'll be, you know, I'll be stuck in someplace and I can finish that quilt. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. It makes me happy. I'm going to carry the quilt around, and it's either going to get done or it's not going to get done. It's fine. If it doesn't get done, they'll throw it away when I'm gone, and I don't really care. But it makes me happy. Because someday I might finish that quilt. I don't have very many things like that, but I do. I'm working on this stuff too, you guys. Yeah. So, photographs. Here's a big one.
So this is number 4?
Yeah, this is kind of like number 4. I mean, there's a couple things to each one of these, but number 4, photos. Photos are a really big thing for people. So when you look at the photographs, do you know the people in the photographs?
No.
I mean, how many people have photo albums of stuff from when they were kids or when they were in high school, and you don't know those people? You can't even tell me their names. Why are you holding on to that? Isn't that funny? Why do we hold on to photographs of people we don't know? Or do we not have enough people in our lives that we do know? Do we not feel close to people, so we have all these people that used to be that we hang on to? I think you have to look at that. You really have to look at that. Now, I don't know. I haven't kept in touch with anybody from high school, really. I have a couple people I've kept in touch with. I saved my high school yearbook, because my senior book, because it had really nice things to say about me. And I thought, well, I'm going to keep that, because then when I open it up, they talk about me being a rainbow, they talk about me creating space, they talk about me standing true to who I am and true, and I thought, oh, this is good, because I didn't know who I was in high school. When I went back to my reunion, that was the only thing I asked people, what was I like? Because I didn't know who I was. I was 17 years old. I didn't know. I wanted to know who I was in their eyes, right? And so my other yearbooks from freshmen, sophomores, it's not a good memory. I didn't need it's like, why would I keep that? And I don't know any of those people. A lot of them are dead. It's a really tough, 70s were a tough time to be growing up. Mm-hmm. So drugs did a lot to people. And I know not everybody did drugs. I've been told that. But I didn't know that, because that's all I knew in high school was there was a lot of drug use. So even the football players were doing drugs. So I didn't know any different, growing up it was in Illinois. So that was all that yearbook. It's like, why would I want to hold on to that? Why do I want to go back and revisit that memory? That's not who I am. I'm so far away from that person in high school, I don't even know who that person is anymore. So I got rid of it. Got rid of all my yearbooks. So that
But
was
you're
the
saying that if somebody, for somebody that is important to them, that they can hold on to it.
of
Or
course.
maybe there's somebody in the family that can still identify those people, from your lineage. Some of the people in the old. Maybe you could go through and do it. Yeah, if it's meaningful to you, I'm saying, then
Yeah.
going through and having them identify the people in the photos. Because every now and then I'll look at some of those old photos that I don't know people and I'll go, that looks like my granddaughter, or that looks like my grandson, or oh my gosh, this looks like my sister.
That's
And
right.
I mean, spitting image of my sister. To come to find out it was my grandma, but I wouldn't have recognized her when she was that young.
And I think that's really important. Usually, you have a lot of people in your family, right? Like people have other people in their family that might like to have those photos. So,
That's true.
I have photos from my lineage, and I have a little envelope of them, and I have both sides of the family. My dad just had our genealogy done, and that was really cool. Some people are really into that. I'm not really into that, but some people are really into that, and I honor that. I really honor where you are, and I want to go back and say it again. If it serves you, and that's the last thing, if it brings you joy, then it belongs in your life. That's how it serves you, if it brings you joy. If it makes you feel guilty, then why would you want that around? Let's get through the guilt. Let's heal that guilt. Let's heal whatever it is in there that's about the guilt, because it isn't about the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with the stuff. Everything's an inside job. It's always going to come back to you. So if you're hanging on to stuff and it's a burden to you, why are you doing that? Let's find out what that's about. Let's find out why there's a part of you that feels like you have to live like that, rather than live in joy, in the lightness and joy. We've worked so hard to come into our light bodies, to absorb all of this light, to ascend into a higher frequency and this Christ consciousness of just unlimited potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've worked so hard to be there, only to be chained to stuff. It's like it just doesn't make any sense to me anymore. And Cindy, I'm getting posts from every day. I get posts from other people. Mother Mary. I get posts from other shows. I won't even go into who all they are, but the theme is lighten up. Clear out the stuff. So I guess I'm really right in line there with it. It's a big theme right now. It's time to let go.
It is. And, a couple of people wrote in about emotions, making space and clearing the emotions as well. And here's what you are saying, Diane, is when you clear those things, it's much easier to clear the emotions as well. I mean, we have things around the house. I've had this happen before, and I actually learned this from Denise Lynn. And we were talking about I know what I was talking about, Diane. I had this picture posted in the house, and I remembered this day that this picture was taken, and my granddaughter Sarah and I were battling about something. And we stopped long enough to have the picture taken. But every time I went past this picture, I remembered her being upset about something, and I think she wanted a bunch of junk food and we weren't going to let her have it, or something silly like that. But emotions were high when the photo was taken. And I learned this from Denise Lynn, that if you have something like that around that has those negative emotions attached to it, get rid of it. It doesn't matter how good the photo is, because along with it comes those negative memories. And I did remember that. as soon as I heard her say that, I thought, that's that picture of Sarah and me. And that's so wild. It was just so wild.
Right. It's like we're bombarded with enough.
Yeah.
That's happening right now, and I think that's what we were talking about when we went off the air was that we've worked so hard to raise our consciousness and to clean our bodies and to be healthier and happier, and so it's about the matching. It's about frequency matching, right? So
yeah.
If we have healthy, happy bodies, but we have all this old energy that's weighing us down, then it's not going to fit anymore. So it's going to create some unhappiness. Well, somebody asked a question about how do you get rid of the old photos, and I'm not exactly sure if they mean emotionally how do you get rid of them, or like how do you get rid of them, right? So I'm not exactly sure what the question was about, but I do know that a lot of times people in art, a lot of artists will go looking for old photographs in secondhand stores, and they'll take those old photographs and they'll put them in their artwork and do different.
Oh.
It's really kind of cool, to do that.
What a great idea.
Pretty clever. One of the things I wanted to do was I just went and visited my granddaughters. And I've got an iPhone that when you push the button, it goes. It takes like 75 pictures in a minute, right? So my granddaughter was on all these rides at the state fair, and her mother's first of all is like, "You let her go on that ride?" I said, "Well, she was tall enough." I don't think my daughter will ever let me be with my granddaughter alone again. But as she's coming around on this ride, she's got this face, and I'm just, I'm just like pushing the button. And I want to take those photographs, and I want to do a collage. I'm going to get a poster board, and I'm going to do a collage, and that's going to be their gift. And that it's like instead of giving them a photo album where they have to flip through the pages, and the photo album's going to end up. Where is it going to end up? It's going to end up under the coffee table or in the closet or something like that. They can take this and she can put it in her bedroom. My granddaughter can put it in her bedroom and see her happy face and these great memories of Grandma.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful.
So, and then I can either I can either copy the pictures and paste them on the page, or I can just actually take the pictures. I don't need the pictures. I have the memory right here in my heart. I don't need the pictures. If I ever have dementia or something like that, I look at the picture, I'm not going to know who they are anyway, so it doesn't really make any difference. It's like it's kind of the way that it is, right? So as long as I remember they're my granddaughters, it's in my heart. I'm going to remember that.
Yeah.
So, right?
Beautiful,
give them the poster. Yeah. She's only 7. She'll have a lot of years to enjoy it. So.
I love that.
Well,
how do people work with you? If somebody wanted to work with you on a one-on-one, because you gave us these tips and you really go deeply with people, how would they have the opportunity to work with you, Diane? Can you tell them a little bit about the personal reading that you're offering?
Well, I do phone consultations. And so my phone consultations, I've kept them pretty low, start at $75 an hour. But
it's a consultation, okay.
Consultation, yeah. So what I do is I set up, and I'm an intuitive, so the consultations have a lot of intuitive source energy comes through, and so they're pretty powerful, the consultations. So what I did was I set up an email. It's my name, Diane A. Light, L-I-G-H-T, @gmail. And if you email me, then I'll know you're coming through from Cindy's show here, Finding Normal. And I will give you an hour consultation for $50. And if you'll have to email me so we can set it up, and we can either do a Skype or we can do it on the phone. And then I live in Arizona, but I've actually traveled all over. I've traveled to Washington, I've traveled to Texas, I've traveled to Oklahoma, and I've traveled Arkansas so far, and up to Vermont to help people with this work that I do. So I have a day rate that I charge people, and then, you know, so if you live outside of Arizona and you've got a house, call me, and then we'll just work it out. You know, we'll see, because really hands-on is really great. Sometimes when you go into a room or a closet, you need that another person there as inspiration and support. So that's kind of that's where I get to come in as the muse.
So again, that is dianealight@gmail.com.
Yes, and you will put
I
that.
love that, Diane A. Light.
On your
So
website.
not only is it light, but it's light, as in, you light up my life. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's really great.
Everything makes me break out in song.
I love it when people tell me I light up their life.
You too.
That's great.
Well, this has been so beautiful. You know, we've had such a wonderful conversation here for everyone, and talking about really lightening up what's, you know, the dense energy in their home, in their emotions. And when you clear, and this I absolutely understand, it's just like the clearing of all of that cosmic crazy energy we've had lately. As soon as it came to you know, kind of a head last night, is what it felt for me. And of course we're still in retrograde, but still that calm after the storm. And when you have this storm of energy around you from all this stuff, and you cleanse all that stuff out, then it's much easier to deal with the emotions inside, in the heart. And Diane, you're all about healing from the heart. And I love this, and you do light up my life, and I know that you've lighted up many people's life here tonight, and I thank you for that. And before we go, Ferris, do you have some other comments there that you would like to read?
Let's see.
And I'm sorry, there's a kitty at the window that's wanting to come in now.
And
It's dinner time.
I apologize for my complexion, but when I had to switch computers, the camera control got all wonky on me.
Oh.
Okay, so you look a little green.
Yeah.
Mine
yeah.
looks a little
Must
gray.
have been
It's not easy being.
probably something I ate. It's not. Yeah, it's not easy being cyan.
That's right. Oh.
So what are some of the questions and comments, Ferris?
Carol said the flowers were pretty, but it's nice to see me. Thank you, Carol. Everybody made it back with us.
Okay, great.
Yay, good. That's excellent. Somebody said I was a delight, a true delight.
Oh, I love that too, delight.
Nice. I thought that was really great. She said, and then somebody said, thank you, Diane and Cindy and Ferris. Blessing.
Oh, and by the way, earlier, Steph and Mona both asked if we could do a short group clearing to let go of all the stuff.
Yeah, a little group meditation.
Yeah.
We do a little group meditation. Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be a nice way to close.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do a little group meditation. So everybody get really comfortable wherever you are. Let's take a couple of three breaths. And when you breathe in through your nose, and when you breathe out through your mouth, let's let some sound come out, okay? So it looks like this. You're kind of like brushing it all away. Another one. Then bring your focus to your heart. You see in the heart this beautiful ball of golden light. and expand that golden ball of light out. It's bigger and bigger. It's filling up your whole chest. And it's just spreading throughout your body, up into your arms, your neck, your face. And as that golden light touches each cell, it relaxes. And your hair is relaxed, fingers. Feel it into your belly and your hara, down into your groin, your legs, your sit bones, your thighs, your knees. You've become a golden light being. Imagine about 18 inches over your head. And it looks like a shower head. When it's turned on, you can feel it's a shower of silver rainbow light as it washes over you, cleansing each cell of your being, cleansing each cell of your being so that each cell can let go of anything that doesn't serve it. Whatever isn't serving you or your cells, it's washing away by that beautiful rainbow light, glittering silver. It's washing into Mother Earth, and Mother Earth, being our wonderful, nurturing mother that she is, gladly takes all of it and filters it through her body so that it can return back to the surface of the earth as pure light energy. Just letting it go. Letting it go. You feel the lightness at the cellular level. You feel the lightness at the emotional level. You feel the lightness at the mental level. You feel the lightness at the spiritual level. Turn off the shower. Move your arms, move your fingers, move your feet. Feel the lightness of your being. Feel the joy that is left. This is who you truly are. This is who you truly are. Pure joy. And when you're ready, take a deep breath and open your eyes.
Oh, beautiful. I feel like I've been plugged into the light.
Woo, I'm getting chills.
That was wonderful, and I could just feel and see in my mind that silvery rainbow light all around me, just cleansing all that dense energy. It was beautiful.
Yeah, so when you start to feel kind of heavy, do that. Put the shower on and just let it, you can do it while you're sitting at the stoplight, right? Just Let it wash it out. It's awesome.
I love it. Wash away confusion or density, anything that's not serving you, any emotion that's not serving you.
It's time to fly, people. It's just time to get our wings back and to fly high. It really
And
is.
to lighten up.
We're not lightened up.
What was that?
What was that, Ferris?
I said, ooh.
Okay. Oh, all we're seeing is
From
flowers
my
now
camera,
again.
My camera's messed up.
Okay, his camera, so he's going to be beautiful color flowers.
I'd rather
So
be
from
a
now
flower.
on, think of Ferris as a flower.
I'd rather be a flower than cyan.
Okay.
We'll give you that one, Ferris.
Well, again, I want to thank you so much, Diane. Any words that you want to leave everyone with? That was, first of all, I just want to say once again that was so beautiful. If anyone wants to leave a comment in our chat box there, we would love to hear from you. And Diane, any parting thoughts?
Cindy, before that, yes, there will be a replay, everybody, and I'll be sending out the replay link just shortly.
Okay, great. Great.
Great.
And then, Ferris, can you
He said I'm blooming.
Can you put
You're blooming.
Yes, and I will send your email address too.
Okay, that'd be really great. That'd be awesome. Yeah,
we'll send the email too.
I love what I do. I love all of you. I really do. And I'm like Dee. Let's fly. Let's all fly together.
Oh, I love it. It's beautiful. And also we will give you Diane's information or contact information so that you can email her. Again, for those of you who are writing it down, it's dianealight@gmail.com, and you can get a hold of her. And if you would like to journey with her, it would be a beautiful experience. And if you've got a lot of things that you want to either clear out or repurpose, she will give you a consultation about that. And she is highly intuitive. Just the moment that we met Diane, if you remember, us just turning and kind of facing each other and going, I know you. It was just, it's that like energy.
Yeah, it was a magical moment.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm loving being in touch with my intuition. I've been an intuitive my whole life, and like many of us, I've been shut down my whole life. And I finally was told by somebody, I finally got to the point where I just threw my hands up and said, I will never be shut down again. And that was in 1990. And so it's just been an ongoing process. So I encourage all of you to, that's who we truly are. Our intuition is really who we are.
You're so right. And another thing there as well, Diane, your intuition works better when you don't have all this density from things in your space too. And that I've experienced myself, and my husband as well. And Mr. Left Brain Accountant is wide open now. He's like, this stuff just keeps happening. The other day we were coming back from dropping off our grandson, and he was thinking something, and I said it to him, and he's like, this is getting spooky.
Yeah, I love that.
I said, just say, of course, you're just opening yourself up to it, and that's getting rid of all that density. That's what it does. And it doesn't matter if you're right brain, left brain, embraced it all of your life, or like Gary, just now learning to trust it. It's a beautiful thing. And so I think this is very appropriate for that too.
I've developed a class because I know that I can't be everywhere, and I can't, it's not practical for me to go to everybody's house and do this. So I believe in the teaching people to fish, right? And so I've developed a 2-hour class, and I've done the 2-hour class twice now, and I'm doing it tomorrow night in the Phoenix area. And I'm really excited about this class because through this class now I've been asked to do a 2-day retreat at a healing. It's kind of like the Omega Center, but it's in Washington, and They have like 500 acres or something, and so they've asked me to do a retreat next year. So I'm going to be doing a retreat where we can really get into the depths of it, because it's not really about your stuff. It's not really about your stuff. It's really about you. And so when I go to work with people one-on-one, or when I work with them in the classroom, or when I in my workshop, or when I work with them on the phone, it's not so easy about, well, how can I get rid of this? It's, well, why are you hanging on to it? Because you can get rid of stuff, and I'll guarantee you're going to fill it right back up if you don't figure out what the core issue is to begin with, right? So if you know some people and you want to do a class, then yeah, please email me. Maybe I'll come to wherever you're at, and we'll do some classwork.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Fun, great idea.
I'd love to come to Tennessee. Hint, hint, hint.
Okay, all right. Well, we are actually looking at doing some live events. We were going to try and do this a couple years ago, and then my dad had a stroke, so we didn't end up doing it. But that's always a possibility.
We'll probably talk. I've done a lot of events, so we should talk.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for being with us on In Search of Normal, Moving Life from Chaos to Clarity, and with cleansing everything in your environment, lightening up, as Diane said, getting rid of those things that no longer serve you. That is going to end up serving you in such a great way. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. So that's what this program is all about. I thank you all for joining us, and until next time, everyone, sending you love and light, and namaste.
Oh, namaste.
And I send you all light.